The drama surrounding the WNBA has reached a fever pitch, and at the center of it all stands two figures whose names now define the future of women's basketball: Cathy Engelbert and Adam Silver. What began as whispers of dissatisfaction behind closed doors has now erupted into a full-blown crisis threatening to tear the league apart from within. Engelbert, once celebrated as the visionary leader guiding the WNBA into its modern era, is now facing the harshest scrutiny of her tenure. Her players have lost faith, her credibility is in tatters, and the league she was entrusted to elevate is on the verge of implosion. The atmosphere is thick with tension, and into this chaos steps NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, a man known for his calm authority and surgical precision when it comes to saving broken systems. His intervention isn't just a public relations move, it's a full-scale rescue operation to stop the WNBA from collapsing under its own weight. When Silver finally broke his silence, the gravity of the situation became undeniable. As the head of the NBA, which financially supports and partially governs the WNBA, his voice carries the weight of judgment and consequence. For weeks, insiders had hinted that Silver was losing patience with Engelbert's mismanagement. Failed negotiations, public feuds, and growing mistrust among players had turned the WNBA into a case study of what happens when leadership forgets to lead. But Silver, who has seen his share of crises in the NBA, knew this was more than bad press. This was an identity crisis, a moment where the credibility of the league itself was on the line. Players had already triggered the opt-out clause in their collective bargaining agreement, setting a countdown toward an October 2025 expiration date. It was meant to be a warning, but under Engelbert, that warning became a prophecy. Negotiations stalled, meetings grew tense, and the players' patience evaporated. When the commissioner brushed off their concerns about officiating, safety, and respect, it was the final straw. Many began privately calling for her resignation, some even threatening a strike if things didn't change. By the time the WNBA finals tipped off, the on-court drama had been drowned out by off-court chaos. Empty seats spoke louder than highlight reels. Sponsors hesitated. Fans questioned whether the league they loved would survive another season. And then came Engelbert's press conference, a disaster so tone-deaf it only accelerated the downfall. With cameras flashing, she brushed off criticism as media noise, a phrase that instantly alienated her players and infuriated supporters. Those two words transformed frustration into fury. Within hours, reports emerged that several team representatives hadn't even been briefed on her remarks. Communication between her office and the players' union had effectively collapsed. What was supposed to be reassurance became arrogance in motion, a broadcast of detachment from a leader who no longer understood her league. The reaction was swift and brutal. Analysts on ESPN and social media tore her apart. Players, veterans, and rookies alike vented their frustrations online. The narrative was clear. Engelbert had lost the locker room, the media, and the fans. That's when Adam Silver made his move. Within hours of the press conference, he was briefed by his advisors. The NBA's legal and communications teams were instructed to prepare for contingency involvement. In plain terms, Silver was ready to take control if Engelbert's leadership failed completely. When Silver finally addressed the situation publicly, his words were measured but unmistakable. Standing before the cameras, he described the turmoil as growing pains, a phrase that on the surface sounded mild but carried the weight of rebuke. It was his way of acknowledging the chaos without outright condemning Engelbert. But his tone, calm yet firm, told a different story. The NBA was watching closely and patience was running out. He praised the WNBA's progress under her tenure, record ratings, sponsorships, and the Caitlin Clark phenomenon, but immediately pivoted to what truly mattered. There are relationship issues that must be addressed, he said. To most people, it sounded diplomatic. To insiders, it was a warning shot. Silver's involvement went far beyond words. Reports confirmed that he had begun overseeing aspects of the WNBA's labor negotiations. The NBA wasn't just advising, it was quietly taking over. Engelbert's authority was slipping, her title now little more than a formality. Silver's reputation as a stabilizer gave hope to players who had long felt unheard. For the first time in months, they believed someone with real power was listening. But that same involvement also confirmed something else. Engelbert's leadership had become a liability, and the NBA was now preparing for a transition of power. The irony was that the WNBA had never been more visible. Thanks to Caitlin Clark, a rookie phenom whose stardom transcended sports, the league had seen unprecedented attention. Her games broke attendance records and merchandise sales soared. Yet instead of embracing her as the face of a new era, Engelbert's administration treated her success like an inconvenience. When Clark was left off the Olympic roster, a decision that fans saw as politically motivated, the backlash was immense. Engelbert's refusal to address the controversy or defend her player became symbolic of the disconnect that defined her leadership. It wasn't just poor judgment, it was a betrayal of what the league claimed to stand for. Adam Silver saw what was happening. Clark's impact represented the WNBA's potential, a golden opportunity to reshape its narrative and attract a new generation of fans. But Engelbert's tone-deaf handling of that moment turned progress into backlash. Sponsors began working directly with Clark's camp instead of the league's marketing team. Networks prioritized her games over other events, sometimes even over the finals. Fans weren't tuning in for the commissioner, they were tuning in for Clark. The message was clear. The players, not the leadership, were carrying the league's relevance. Behind the scenes, the tension reached a breaking point. Silver, known for his strategic patience, convened private meetings with top NBA and WNBA officials. His message was simple: fix it or lose it. The NBA couldn't allow the WNBA to implode, not when billions in media rights and sponsorships were at stake. Insiders later revealed that the NBA had assembled a crisis advisory team to evaluate the possibility of Engelbert's removal. Legal experts, PR strategists, and labor specialists were quietly assessing how to replace her without destabilizing the entire organization. The timing couldn't have been worse. The WNBA was negotiating a massive $2.2 billion media deal that could secure its future for years. But the networks wanted guarantees, stability, leadership, direction, none of which Engelbert could provide. Her absence from key meetings only added fuel to the rumors. Even executives who once defended her began to distance themselves, unwilling to tie their reputations to what had become a sinking ship. Every day that passed without a clear statement made the inevitable even more obvious. Engelbert's time was running out. As October crept closer, the air grew heavy with anticipation. The Halloween deadline for the collective bargaining agreement loomed like a final judgment. Players, agents, and executives waited for a resolution that never seemed to come. On social media, cryptic messages appeared from star athletes, hints of change, whispers of a new beginning. Caitlin Clark herself broke her silence, saying only, "We just want a league worth fighting for." It was a simple line, but it carried the weight of a revolution. In the end, Adam Silver's involvement became the only thing holding the WNBA together. He was no longer the observer, no longer the advisor. He had become the shadow commissioner, the silent hand guiding a league that could no longer guide itself. Every decision now ran through him, every message shaped by his office. Engelbert's leadership had become an afterthought. Her influence reduced to a nameplate on the door of an empire she no longer controlled. The WNBA's fate now hangs on a fragile thread, one woven by a commissioner who never planned to lead it, but may have no choice. If Adam Silver succeeds, he'll be remembered as the man who saved women's basketball from itself. If he fails, the league may not survive to see another season. As the Halloween deadline looms, the future of the WNBA feels like a ticking clock in a silent room.